Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pull Up Trade Podcast, the podcast co hosted by myself, Samson Folk, of course, but also the podcast where Trey pulls up Trevon Heath, the namesake, the man of the hour. Every time we record, you're here to talk some basketball with me. For the people who are listening, we're going to give you some topics. For the people on screen, you can see there are 6 topics for today. The topics are: 1, will Brandon Ingram improve the Raptors half-court offense? 2, how will RJ Barrett and IQ adapt to off-ball roles? 3, what happens with the defense? 4, which guard will be first off the bench? We're thinking of Jacoby. We're thinking of Ochai. We're thinking of Gradey and even potentially Jamal. Number 4, can Scottie Barnes improve as a creator and scorer? And number 5 or 6, I should say, I'm counting wrong. How do the Raptors survive without Jakob on the floor? Trey, how are you doing? Are you excited to answer the 6 most important questions for this Raptors season?
I'm excited. It's been a contentious preseason to say the least. So if
Where are
it's anything,
you where are you noticing the contention? Where's that coming from?
it's sort of like everyone from the media, from the fan base knows like this is the year. It's like a line in the sand of like either these guys are the guys that are going to lead the next generation, or the last 4 to 5 years has been a massive mistake and has altered the franchise in a significant way. And either way that's gonna go is going to be crazy and a lot of chaos. So people are just like real sensitive right now. It's tough.
What people are sensitive and expectations are high for the team in the first time and however long.
Mhm.
And the internet is always going to have a bunch of opinions on it. We're talking about a few things here. We're going to start off with something that I think is really fun, and something that is positive and something that is an easy answer, but something that will add a lot of information to Brandon Ingram really improving the Raptors half court offense. I'll start off by saying the Raptors were a bad transition offense last year. Brandon Ingram will also improve that, surefire, but they need somebody who can create. To set the scene, they were the worst team in the NBA when it comes to creating on the ball. Points per possession, dead last. They were one of the 3 worst teams in the NBA when it comes to pull up shooting. They weren't strong when it comes to catch and shoot shooting. They weren't strong when it comes to finishing. Their location data, where they took the shots from, said, hey, these are good shots. And all the players said, this is not my strength for whatever reason. Trey, start me off. Brandon Ingram as a creator to help lift the half court offense. Where are you?
I'm very fairly high on that. I think in terms of like his skill set and the way that the offense is built around, it's a ball dominant guy who can both operate as like a shot maker and playmaker is huge for the Raptors. Like Darko's really emphasized that through his offense. He's always wanted a point guard to handle the ball for the large majority of those touches, and Bi looks like he's going to be able to take those. I think where the Raptors are lacking, especially in the half court last year, is obviously overall creation getting to the rim, and when Brandon Ingram does get to the rim, he's fairly efficient in doing so. They need it all. They also need live dribble shot creation outside of Gradey, IQ, who kind of can't do that in the paint and in the half court. Bi has the length, the shot making ability to warrant defenses actually moving and giving him that added attention, which should add we should help with tons of other guys who are great cutters like RJ, Jacoby, Scottie, who's a great finisher, Jakob, who's great in the dunker spot. It puts everyone in the places that they should be. And last season, the entire team from Scottie down was put in a position where they had to kind of punch up to where their skill set is. And Brandon Ingram is the guy that can fit the bill and has done this for several years.
Okay, so I've kind of put this as 3 separate things that reveal an answer. So Ingram as a creator, let's answer that part first. He had 4 straight seasons on the Pelicans. Oddly enough, it didn't start with his All-Star season, but 4 straight seasons where he has this huge positive on-off. When he's on, Pelicans offense is significantly better. They take better shots when he's on the floor. They hit more shots when he's on the floor. His gravity as a creator allows other players to shoot better, to have easier shots. And that's obviously something that the Raptors will be taking into significant consideration. He is somebody who, the moment he steps on the floor, as you said, it moves everybody into the right place. The creating stuff, it should be easy. And the way that fits in, this is the second thing, is his automatic offense. This doesn't even really need to be integrated. Think of Kyle Lowry's offense with the championship team, and then there was Kawhi Leonard's offense. Kawhi's was kind of segregated and on its own. Kawhi was a guy who operated out of pick and rolls with some partners, some playmaking, yes, but a lot of getting his own buckets, a lot of isolation scoring. When it comes to Brandon, he's a guy who, no matter, even as the Pelicans team changed, whoever was out there with him, he was running very productive pick and rolls. You run pick and rolls everywhere you go. You're a ball dominant player. Boom. Bob's your uncle, Becky's your aunt. Isolation possessions. Doesn't matter the context a little bit of the team. Sure, it does. Yes. But also, it's just you out there getting buckets. And he's always been an above average isolation scorer. In a vacuum, he'll be able to do those things so easily. We've seen it. I mean, it's transferred over immediately. The preseason
Mhm.
isn't the best
Yeah.
barometer for things. We'll have a positive conversation about Scottie in a little bit, but Scottie's had a weird preseason. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's preseason, whatever. Who cares, right? Brandon has been pretty damn good. It's meaningful to see him play well.
Mhm.
Thirdly, fitting in with the Raptors, he is an elite finisher, catching on the move and when he's cutting. Now, he does not cut very often elsewhere, but he's already showcased a little bit of cutting with the Raptors. The Raptors, even if they don't get him to cut as much as some people want, they justify a whole bunch of cutting. He will be cutting more often. He shot what, like 72, 73% at the rim? Hello, this guy's
Yeah.
arms go forever. He has soft touch. He'll finish. And then lastly, the easy thing is just like he's a good catch and shoot three-point shooter. This is guys who step into offenses. The ball comes to you. It's pretty inherent. It works easy. All these things point in the direction of he's going to help immensely. Not to mention that when you go through the stats, and we'll talk about some of them, Scottie, RJ, IQ, you look at when they make passes, why isn't the team performing as well? If some of those passes go to Brandon Ingram,
Yeah.
things start trending in the proper direction. Does anything I've said there surprise you, or are you even more bullish than some of what's been said?
No, we've seen him do it and become an all-star doing so. We've seen him do it in the playoffs and excel doing so. I think the talent jump that the Raptors got for a very low price just I feel still is underrated within the league. You from converting Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown to at worst a fringe all-star for several years changes the dynamic of the offense, and you're entering a situation where you don't need to feel that Scottie Barnes needs to hold the ball and be this on-ball creator that his game might not necessarily fit, which we'll talk about in a second. It just allows the Raptors to become a lot better while also not forcing this upward trajectory or development from guys that don't necessarily have the talent level or skill set to do so.
Yeah. The answer, you go look at the numbers, and there's this thing where Ingram didn't he didn't become everything that some people wanted him to be. And I get that people have expectations, and when players don't meet it, it's sour grapes. But Ingram is just, he's a talent. He's a
Yep.
very talented player. He's just, as you said, at worst, a fringe all star. Just got to be the health. Just have to
Yep.
be healthy. I'm not asking for 73. I'm not asking for 82. I'm asking for like 64. And if I get 68, the pants are off, man. Let's go
Mhm.
streaking. I'm extremely happy about that. Brandon Ingram, healthy and integrated, I think will help the Raptors immensely in the half court offense. Anything else on that? Or do we start talking about some of the guys who operate around him?
Yeah, I would just say for anyone that's kind of like schemish or on the opportunity or what Brandon can provide, the Raptors itself and their system provides great shots. They're towards the top of the league and getting good looks for players. You're turning that from possessions that Jonathan Mobo has clear possessions at the rim, Jamal Shed may have, and you're turning that into Brandon Ingram. At the very least, it's an upward trajectory and a talent level increase that doesn't come by very often, which is why they pull the trigger on a trade like that.
Yep. Especially for what they traded for him. And on
Yep.
top of that, if anybody wants a little bit more specific, I have a video essay on Brandon Ingram's projected fit, which is good. And I think it's almost a year old at this point, but it's pretty strong. And I just did a film breakdown on all of his film with the Raptors so far, and it's more intimate looking at what he does than this. If you're into that kind of stuff, go ahead. Secondly, let's talk about the other all-star on the team, Scottie Barnes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably the most interesting place to go with it. Scottie, like, listen, I had negative reactions to when I said it seems like Scottie doesn't care about preseason. Listen, that doesn't mean I think Scottie's bad. I
Yeah.
just when I see the guy for the 5th time in a game not cross half court to join the team on an offensive possession, and what 15 of his 17 shot attempts in preseason have been jumpers, I get the sense that like he doesn't care that much about preseason. He doesn't have to. Nobody really has to.
Yeah.
He's been an all-star. I still think he'll be an all-star this year, and I'm hoping. We need to see a good season. The big question is how he takes on creating stuff now that it's with Brandon Ingram and around a more talented team. And two, how he operates offensively as a non-creator. How
Yep.
do you feel about you choose whichever one you want to shoot at, go for it.
Yeah. I think just the way he's positioned in terms of the team now, he's a lot of the possessions that like RJ Barrett would get on the catch, on the move, barreling downhill. He's going to get a lot of those possessions. And he does that really well when he gets to the rim and he takes that extra dribble. He's super strong. He can finish and he can explode through the lane. I think where he struggled with and kind of said this as well, kind of the thought process of experimenting and seeing where your talents can go while also trying to be productive can also be have its challenges. The Raptors are trying to win now, so you expect those long jumpers to turn into dunks, turn into layups, and kind of use that as counters. What you want to see for him as a creator, because it doesn't. I like Scottie. You like Scottie. Last season, he was one of the worst creators in the NBA. Just on the face of things, just in terms of the amount of possessions he got and how efficient he was not very good at doing so. But I do think him becoming a lot better in transition and not bailing out teams with jumpers, working on the catch, and also something that Pascal Siakam does so well is getting an early seal, getting a dump in, scoring and finishing super quickly. There's these little things within his actual game that he can improve while not having to be this great standstill creator that he can do so. But in terms of his overall creation from a standstill perspective, I still think he has the opportunity to be a good pick and roll player if has the willingness to fight through hedges and fight and get to the lane. It'll allow his mid range to improve and open up because their defenses will actually shift. Right now, nobody is shifting because he's willing to stop from 12 feet, and that has to change this season.
Yeah. He full stop is one of the highest volume non-paint shooters in the NBA, and it's because he is a huge fan of his own mid-range jumper. As far as his efficiency with that shot, he's about middle of the pack, which is a nice development for him when you look at his
Mhm.
game coming out of college. It's a proper counter. I'm glad it's part of his game. Do I want him to be in the 93rd percentile and upward? Like one of the guys who takes the most of these? Do I want him in that Kawhi Leonard realm? Not exactly. I do want him, as you said, playing out of the pick and roll. It's been a couple years in a row now that he's been passable to good as far as the numbers. They say he can operate out of the pick and roll, especially as a passer. Put him in motion, have him catch off of like Ricky screens and pin downs into movement sets with guard screeners. Let him make decisions as an upright passer, scanning the floor with players moving around him. And if a seam opens up, let him attack it. As a driver, he didn't really shine in any type of drive except for when he was able to draw a closeout. That means big steps towards the rim. That means big finishes. Guess what, though? He doesn't draw a lot of closeouts.
Yeah.
That mix of being asked to create so much, that mix of when you look at his catch and shoot jumpers and his dribble jumper was one of the 5 worst high volume jump shooters in the whole league. I don't a very quick question for you. Do you think it's more likely that he improves himself enough that he moves out of that ranking? Or do you think it's more likely that the Raptors put him in stronger positions so he just doesn't deal with that volume necessarily?
Yeah, I think he's just going to be in better positions to score. I think you saw that with they've only played one preseason game together, but it looks like the offense is going to revolve around Ingram, and everyone else is going to have to fit in and get into those roles. And he's already done that within his career and excelled in doing so. So I think he should be able to score very efficiently, just simply off of like the gravity that Ingram creates. He's going to get those possessions, like I said, like RJ was getting off of the catch, coming off a curl and barreling downhill. And he also has a playmaking ability that RJ doesn't have to open up things second side for other guys. So I'm super excited to see that.
Yep. On top of that too, he had one play type last year where he was like strong. It was when he was the screen setter, the roller in the pick and roll. And I would love to see
Yeah.
Scottie used in this play type more often. I would love to see it with RJ. I'd love to see it with IQ. I'd love to see it with Gradey. I'd love to see it with Ingram. And with Ingram, is that going to result in more switches and not really, the flow pick and roll type of play? Sure. But I think both of them are going to be able to carve out advantages. And we might see Scottie's efficiency as an isolationist kind of creep up this year because he'll be looking at easier matchups because Ingram is taking a lot of the brunt of that really hard defensive matchup that Scottie had to take last year. RJ's taking a peg down. Scottie's taking a peg down. It resorts everything. And Scottie he should benefit from that greatly. I also think he's not going to shoot 27% on his threes. I expect him to be north of 30%. I mean, I hope so. And he has good touch. He's fine at the free throw line. I don't think there's any business for his 3-point shot to be that low. As long as he fits in as an offensive rebounder, as a screen setter on occasion, and they let him run the right types of pick and rolls as a baseline, I think he'll be good. Obviously, he's still 24 years old, was an all-star in year 3. There's still going to be some experimentation looped in here. He still did take a lot of jumpers in preseason. He's still working on stuff, but I think it gets better as a creator by the numbers, even though on lower volume, as Darko said. And I think it gets much better as an off-ball player. My fingers are crossed on this, but given his defensive acumen and given everything we just laid out, there's a real map to all-star status for him. I don't know if we get 2 guys this year. I know if you just watch preseason, it looks like it's Ingram is the all-star
Yeah.
and nobody else is close, but you got to believe in something, man, and you got to try not to pay too much attention to like Scottie's been a very good player in his lifetime at the
Yeah.
NBA level. It's been nasty business in the preseason, but you can't let that color you too much. Speaking of Scottie, speaking of defense, let's go there. The Raptors made a mad dash last year to become, near the top half of the league in defense. They were between 14 and 16. I don't remember which one right now, but they were top 10, maybe even top 6 in the last like 2.5 months of the season. Now, Caitlin gave me this really great stat when she came on the podcast where she said when Scottie played, the Raptors were ranked 20th in defense against the better offenses in the NBA. So when they were playing good teams, even when Scottie was healthy, they still struggled. I understand that. They were very strong defensively when the malaise of the season definitely caught up.
Yeah.
There's a worry there. Given that context, where do you sit on this, man? Defense good or bad?
I'm still super bullish on their defense. I think the way that they're approaching defense, I think we talked about this in our previous pod.
Oh,
Is
we've talked about things, man. Let's start the basketball.
but it fits what the NBA is turning towards, which is high pickup, aggressive style defense, trying to force turnovers, and through the majority of the league, you can create turnovers with their ball handler just simply through aggression. There isn't as many Shea Gilgeous-Alexanders, there isn't that many Luka Doncic on other people's teams, and the Raptors have multiple guys that they can throw at you that can pick you up from tip off. So I think they're gonna be a team that's gonna be great in transition. They're gonna force tons of turnovers. And I think in terms of their backline, they're going to be one of the best in the NBA. Scottie, second half of the year, really picked it up in terms of what he can do on the weak side. And Jakob has always been from good to at worst just a bit above average in terms of protecting the rim and being that backline defender. It's going to allow them to play a lot more aggressive. And I think even the lineup of like Quickly and Bi, they have enough length, I think, on defense where they're going to be okay enough to still have really good lineups around those two guys because they're going to be a really big team that's very aggressive, and I think they're going to be towards the top of the league in terms of steals.
When I was doing the defensive portion of Brandon's film room, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like there was it's preseason and there was effort.
Mhm.
That's a pretty big indicator to me for Brandon Ingram, and he has a lot of length. If they can keep him away from a lot of the on ball stuff and allow him to be a guy who like steps into the lane, shows length in passing lanes, I think that he can be like average with room to go upwards as a defender on this team. The thing I really question is the ball pressure. I do. I'm not worried about Scottie on the back line. I'm not worried about Jakob back there. I'm
Yeah.
not honestly, and we'll talk about this later, how they survive without Jakob. I'm not really worried about the collection of CMB and Mamu and Mobo defensively. I am worried about the guys up front. And because they extend their pressure so much, they're just going to allow drives. They're just going to allow guys to get in the teeth of things. And it's going to require more rotation from the back line. And I wonder how everybody plays catch up. That being said, with enough effort, you can definitely crawl out of the bottom third in
Yeah.
defense. And if anything that this Raptors team has been able to give, it is effort. And so I wouldn't expect them to be in the bottom third of the league in defense. I expect their offense to improve. When you score more on offense, your defense gets better because you get to set your defense, you get to pressure how you want. And on top of that, there are reasons to believe that they have enough defensive talent on the roster, potentially in their rookie joining them as well too, to put them in a decent spot. I, after seeing it, would not go top 10. I know a lot of people were saying like, well, maybe top 10. I I would expect something like 12, 14, somewhere in
Yeah.
there,
That'd be a
but
big win.
it would be a big win, especially given that we're so bullish on the offense. And the offense just has to improve, man.
Yeah.
The offense just has to improve. God, if the offense didn't improve, oh my
Be very
days, that
sad.
would just be terrible. But top half defense puts them in a good spot, I think. And room to go a little bit higher because they're going to be a fairly big team for parts of the game. They should have decent small ball lineups. And to go back to people who factor into not only the ball pressure defense, but making the offense go, IQ and RJ playing off ball. What does that look like? Take me on an adventure here. What are you thinking about those two fellows?
I think the Brandon Ingram addition will impact them positively the most. I think out of everyone in terms of the team, particularly like RJ. Um, in terms of the most success we saw him in terms of like being a finisher and just being efficient across the board was when he had multiple ball handlers around him. When they had Pascal, they had Scotty Barnes, but they asked him to be a catch and shoot shooter, be a good cutter and occasionally do a pick and roll from second side. His best finishing year was when his assisted numbers at the rim were the highest, obviously, because he's a great finisher. He's a very strong cutter and very willing. That's one of the things that he did as a Raptor almost immediately, which shows that he can play off ball. And I think the biggest swing from him as a Nick from a Nick to a Raptor is that his catch and shoot shooting has been very good the whole time as a Raptor at 38%. If those things hold up, either he's going to be able to play around Bi and Scotty and the development that he had, especially as a playmaker within the pick and roll as well, will just be an added bonus and gravy on top of whatever he's already doing. You've seen it already in preseason. The looks that he's getting are a lot easier. He's able to get into the lane and dice into the lane, and his rim pressure that he gets from attacking closeouts is probably going to be one of the Raptors' biggest points of emphasis in terms of getting to the rim, because they have a lot of guys that rely on others to create closeouts or beat their man to get to the rim in order to score buckets.
Yep. To bolster your point there, he doesn't have a ton of vertical pop when he gets to the rim. He's good at finishing on his last leg, last step. He's good at finishing on that, but it's usually pretty ground bound, and he's like turning the corner on a guy, which means that he is, as a finisher, at his best when he has one man to beat. And typically that one man being his check, who he's driving to the basket from the perimeter. He's quite strong when that's the case. You can, like in the preseason, he's not been strong finishing at the rim. He's also played a lot without Brandon Ingram. He's been asked to create a lot on his own. And for that Denver game was like the only guy driving towards the paint and
Mhm.
missing a little bit. He's overextended as a finisher, I think is clearer than anything. As you said, like when you think about the fact that Ochai Agbaji is shooting like roughly the same on catch and shoot threes as a Raptor as RJ Barrett is, you'd be like, well, RJ Barrett's percentages are way worse. Yeah, RJ's taking a lot of damn pull-ups that he should
Yep.
not be taking. And why is he doing this? Because the Raptors are like, we ain't got nothing going on, man. We don't have Ingram yet. Go out there and get us a bucket. He was one of the worst pull-up shooters in the NBA. The Raptors very lucky to have two of those guys last year. You know what I mean? Getting Barrett off ball, he'll thrive. We saw him
Yep.
thrive before. And how much does he thrive? Does it change the calculus on how the league views him or the Raptors view him? I don't know. This podcast is a very pro RJ podcast. We've liked him from the moment he's been there. We don't quit on this guy. I like his game offensively for this team. On top of that, pick and roll playmaking, he's at his best on drives when he gets to pass, actually. And as Brandon said, he's not just a gunner. As Darko said, he's one of the great players in the league who can find offense without having anything drawn up for him. That's a great case there. I'll take the lead on IQ. IQ, so a fun stat, or maybe a stat that Brandon Ingram will help improve is, so last year IQ was 35% on spot up threes. Just 35%. Not good. He was really low percentile. He is so low in volume of spot up threes. He was bottom 10 percentile in the NBA in stationary 3-point shots. So what this means is that there's a lot of defense paying attention to him. So he doesn't get wide open shots real easily. And two, he's not beating his man by getting open and forming up and cutting a lot. He is kind of just using his body to create space for other guys. I would like him to find a middle ground here where he is actually landing his feet, getting more stationary 3-point attempts and hitting them. I'd love to see it. And Brandon Ingram as your number one, Scottie as a number two. Well, actually, honestly, creating Scottie RJ
Mhm.
probably will have similar numbers as far as raw creation. Those guys having IQ to finish possessions, I can't wait. IQ is a guy who some of the possessions he's had, skip passes in preseason, been pretty good. There's been some nice pacing there, but I would like to see him improve, moving the play on if he gets run off the line, the passing getting a little bit better. And I hate floater first players instead of layup first players, but he's a floater first player.
Yeah.
Hit a higher percentage of those. There there really should be more room for him to succeed. Am I missing anything on IQ here, do you think?
I think one of the things we probably want to see from him and what will go up is just him shooting just more off screens. He like you mentioned, he's a player that kind of tries to float within the offense. And the Raptors require their off ball players to run really hard off screens, create that gravity, create that pressure to open things up for other players. And he only hit eight threes off of screens, and he's one of the best shooters in the league as well as his team. So that has to increase. That has to change significantly, which will allow his playmaking to get a lot better because teams will pick up a lot higher. Will help the roll man in that situation. It will also help his overall like efficiency when he drives, because when he gets hard closeouts, when he was on the Knicks and he was playing with a really big star who handles the ball. He was able to get downhill. His floaters became a lot easier. His floor percentage was significantly higher. And as a Raptor, he's been asked to set the table a lot. And I think that's where a lot of people thought they were going to see that star trajectory, that all-star trajectory, and that just hasn't happened. He's going back to a role where we already have seen him succeed at. We just need him to turn into a more of a movement player that can hit shots off movement that helps everybody on the team. I think that's one of the most significant changes we need from any player on the team.
Yep. I'm excited to see it. I really want to see a good year from IQ so I can stop laboring on about the things that he doesn't do. And I think he's in a really strong position to have a good year. I think he
Yeah.
and RJ both are. Does that mean that they're getting all the usage that they ideally want? Maybe not. They're down a spot on the totem pole. Does that mean it's going to change how the league views them? I don't know, but I think they're both in a decent spot to succeed. We got another question here, man. It's basically first guard off the bench. I'm gonna like you could incorporate Jamal Shed, but I don't really. Jamal Shed is the only point guard. Chucky Hepburn has
Yeah.
actually been playing good,
Yeah.
but Jamal is like the roster has been made in such a way that Jamal just has a spot,
Yeah.
and it's just like you get this possession, Jamal. Depending on how the creators do elsewhere, the
Mhm.
RJs, the Gradeys, the IQs, maybe Jacoby by the end of the year. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this topic is like Ochai, Gradey, Jacoby. I'm going to start off with a sentence, see if you agree. Ochai is currently the best player, but the Raptors hope that that isn't the case by the end of the season.
I I agree. I think game one, he's the first guard off the bench. He's their best defender in terms of picking guys up really high and being aggressive. He has the length to do so.
Wait, I'm going to, because you're really high on Jacoby, and I'm also
Um,
really high on Jacoby's defense. Who do you think's better at picking up, Jacoby or Ochai?
I would say Jacoby because he's physical, but I think he's way worse in terms of screening. Like if he does get
That's
screened,
true.
that's
Jacoby's ball pressure defense is really good.
yeah, he's super physical.
Yep.
But I think Ochai is a player that you could slot even in your starting lineup just because he's such a stationary player. He doesn't require much usage. He does exactly what a fifth starter should do: hit stationary threes, be an active cutter, play good defense, hit spot up threes. He does that at a really high clip, and he's done that as a Raptor. Um, but I think just because the Raptors like lack of creation across multiple positions, especially on their bench, you want this to be Gradey or Jacoby that step up, that shine as a guy that can take the ball or be a guy that can score off movement for them, because Ochai doesn't necessarily require the defense to draw any attention to them. He still gets a lot of open threes because it's just something that teams are willing to live with. And if Grady takes that role and takes that spot, that just isn't going to happen, and it makes things a lot easier for everyone across the board. I think of success for the Raptors is one of those two take Ochai's spot, and that leads to, I think, better offense across the board.
Yeah. Ochai also is just much improved as a connective passer and as a finisher since we
Yes.
first saw him as a Raptor. Obviously, the 3 point percentage going up really meaningful, and you hope it stays around 40%. But do you want some preseason numbers? And again, we preseason can mean some things. It can also, if someone hand waves it all away, I have no problem with it. Do you want the preseason numbers on
Yeah,
Grady and
of
Jacoby?
course.
Okay.
Of course.
Grady, there was a lot of hand wringing after Grady's first preseason game. And I said, listen, I don't care about the offense. They're defending him, 28 feet from the basket. It's fine. He wasn't hitting shots. His defense did worry me a little bit though. He doesn't look on balance when he closes out. Gives me the I'm like, damn, what's going on? Anyway, we're here after 4 games of the preseason. His 66.5% true shooting. That's incredibly high for people keeping track at home. 53% from the field, 44% from the 3 point line, and he is 8 of 10 at the rim so far. Now, this is bolstered by some transition numbers, but he's also shooting 67% at the rim. in the half court. Now, Jacoby, who is far better on defense than Gradey, is 43% true shooting. Think Precious Achua to start the 2021-22 season. It's about that bad. 30% field goal, 20% three-point. He's 3 of 7 at the rim overall. So I think the preseason numbers obviously say what they say. They reinforce what I believe, which is that Gradey is the far better offensive player with a
Yeah.
far higher upside there. But I can never escape from the fact that all Jacoby has to do is not shoot 20% from the three-point
Yeah.
line. And if he's like a 37% three-point shooter with his defense, that guy might strike the middle on what the Raptors need. We argued about this or
Yeah.
debated a
All such.
contrived debate,
Yeah.
but I guess with 4 preseason games, as if that would change your mind. Where are you on this?
The same as we we discussed. I from the Boston game, you love to see that like one of these guys show like with more extended time, with more extended possessions, like they can score and they might be able to punch up and steal some minutes from other guys. And Grady did that. Offensively, like I said, his ceiling and the debate about who is the better player, I don't think there's a debate on that necessarily. Like Grady's upside and trajectory is super high. Jacoby still hasn't had a run like Grady had the first 25 odd games of the season. And that was him punching at near like fringe all-star levels. So for Grady, it's a matter of the roster construction because Emmanuel quickly isn't necessarily a guard that's going to provide provide you like comfort as a backcourt duo, obviously defensively, because he needs help sometime himself.
Darko has been gassing him though. There
I
was
haven't seen him.
like I can see the effort, and
Yeah, yeah,
I appreciate the effort.
yes,
When we were, I can't remember who asked it, but they asked Darko, like, oh yeah, you have Chucky, Jamal, and Jacoby with this ball pressure, like it's so great. And he like was like, hey, Emmanuel is also very good at this ball pressure. We appreciate Emmanuel. I appreciate it too. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah. I need to see the physicality. I don't believe you, but I'm hoping to be wrong. Like like you said, but like Jacoby, his true shooting will go up and down depending on how well he shoots threes. That's going to be the bulk of his possessions because he's very limited in what he can do offensively. He They tried to give him more possessions in both summer league and in that Boston game. He just is very limited as a ball handler right now. And that's okay. He's a second year player, but because of his level of defense, and he has had extended stretches of being a really good shooter, like he did the back half of last season, that's a guy that you can plug in. You can play 15 to 20 minutes and be a fifth player out there and provide impact. It's not a matter of whether he's going to be the better player. It's just a matter of he can fit in and into more lineups, and that might win him the job and win more minutes across the board. I think as a Raptor fan, you want to hit that upward trajectory and you want to see that player, one of these three, hit a higher projection than this. I think Jacoby winning this job without improved creation experience or creation reps would be a failure on Grady's part, honestly.
Grady, he is a talent, you
Yeah.
know, and the defense. He's had a couple okay defensive games in a row, and when I say okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
I would never. An okay Grady game is like not bad. Yeah, I'd be very scared to suggest that it was average. He has a long way to go, but he commands so much attention on offense. His shot making can be so impressive, and despite his limitations, he still manages to slither down to the floor and put pressure on the rim.
Mhm.
And I've been long been a proponent that I don't think the finishing woes will stay at the same level. I think it'll come around. He has good touch and he's pretty big. Also, he kind of has pretty good offensive rebounding juice.
Yes. Yes.
The Raptors are a team, as I've said it a million times, tagging up. He's been crashing hard and he's
Mhm.
created a lot of extra possessions for the Raptors. He's an interesting player and a guy who, is after the Boston game, I asked Darko about his usage and he said, other guys need to look for him more. They don't realize, how available he is and what he can do. So that was why they ran him ragged for the first 8 minutes of that game. He was walking with his head back like that. I do wonder. The point you make is so good. It's really that's the clarity of the situation is Jacoby winning this job without improving much is not just not great for Jacoby, but it's really
Yeah.
bad for the team. Jacoby
Mhm.
winning, I mean, Gradey winning this job, it's obviously his upside. You like it. Ochai winning this job, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
You got to pay him. You got to see what's there.
Mhm.
But if Grady and Jacoby both really that competition, iron sharpens iron, that would be cool because I
Mhm.
think those guys can play some spot minutes together and have it be good. And I think those guys can plug different holes in what a rotation needs. I would love if both these guys are killing it because as much as I take the Grady side and you take the Jacoby side, you and I are both huge fans of
Yeah.
both these
Both,
guys.
yeah.
We've just contrived to debate for whatever reason. We have one last topic. Jakob Poeltl is not the lone big on the roster the same way he was last season,
Mhm.
unless you're a huge Colin Castleton fan, in which case, hell yeah, Mrs. Castleton. I'm very glad you're listening. The Jakob Poeltl lists minutes. That's all we've seen so far. But take
Yeah.
me on a trip of how you think that's going to go, and do you have any remedies to what I guess problems may occur?
Yeah. I will say I'm more bullish on it than I was probably like 3 weeks ago. Just because of how good Mamu has been throughout preseason, which is like
Dude,
I'll
I
just
wrote this in my piece after today's game, and I was like, I hope this isn't like Svi, because you know how Svi
yeah, he
tricked
was
us.
yeah, he was.
He's also a white guy who buzzed his head, and he was like slick on drives in the preseason, and then suddenly the season started and nothing was there. I hope he's not tricking. I don't think he is, but
Yeah. He's been much better than I think anyone expected. Like, there's obviously like flashes of him being a Spur, but like 90% of people are referring to game 82 when he scored 30, like hit a bunch of threes. But
the
I
people
digress.
pretending to be Mamu experts,
I knew it was gonna happen. Look at him on
like,
drives. I'm like,
dude, that was my takeaway when I saw him. I was like, okay, he shoots above the break threes. That's important. And then I was like, he's very coordinated on drives, but I saw six of those.
yeah,
So, like, what are we gonna say? I saw
yeah.
six drives.
So we're gonna see, and then obviously like CMB has been phenomenal in terms of at least like in terms of expectations of what I was hoping to see. Like, he's defended at a very high level. He's been able to defend bigs. He's been able to switch out. So they have multiple options. The obvious like big answer here is they're gonna play Scotty at the five a lot. They're going to use him as a big. His numbers as a rim protector are and the swings of that are super high for the Raptors. You see that on defense, even when he plays with Jakob, just because of his athleticism, his length, and his versatility. He can switch out onto wings and shot clock situations. He can defend bigs. He can front bigs, and he also has the strength to also just defend them in the post. I think you're going to see probably a lot more lineups where he plays with Mamu, where they can both switch in and out together in terms of guarding other bigs. And Mamu's like, movement skills defensively, like I wouldn't say like he's a stalwart there, but like he's a better mover than I thought in space.
Good
So
feet. Good
yeah,
feet.
so I think you put yourself in a lineup where you're super versatile. You can go five out in a lot of situations, attack tons of closeouts, and like defensively, like Scotty will raise all tides in like the non Jakob minutes. But that also happened with CMB where he's guarding the traditional big and because he has the strength, his physicality is translated immediately. And Scotty's playing right beside him and doing exactly what he does with Jakob. So far, like so good. Mobile tried to do a lot of what like CMB and Mama are going to be asked, and it didn't necessarily work out well because they couldn't rebound the ball. But both of those guys can rebound for their position better than I expected, especially Mama. So
Yep.
I I'm I think they can do it. I think they won't be brutal like they were last year.
Also, this might make us, I'm hopeful, that this will make us reassess how good Jakob is.
Yeah.
And make us think that he's not quite as good and they're not quite as dependent. And I
Mhm.
don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like this team absolutely cratered without Jakob last year. And for obvious reasons, because the reason why Mamu is so important and was like, I had that tweet about his movement skills and Sam Vecini, who apparently is very high on these Raptors. I've not seen the video, but everyone's talked about it,
Mhm.
said that he thought one of the best signings of the offseason was Mamu for what the Raptors want to do. Mamu pressures the offensive glass. He is, a very talented and coordinated driver for a front court player. He will shoot above the break threes, which is very good for the Raptors spacing, and he can run some of the elbow stuff. Part of the consideration here is that the Raptors couldn't really get away with their lineups on one hand, not because of how they defended, but because they couldn't score. Like
Also, yeah.
that was a huge deal. And Mamu facilitates that end of the floor while also not tanking everything on the other side of the floor, especially in my mind, if you anchor him with Scottie most of all, and
Mhm.
two, maybe CMB.
Yeah.
Obviously, Darko, when I asked him the question on media day, he's referred to CMB and Mamu playing together a bunch. Then we see that they're playing together a lot in the second unit. There's room for them to survive the minutes defensively and to have it be pretty seamless offensively. As far as this team, look where the money is, man. That starting lineup has to work if this team is going to be good. That means they're going to win minutes with Jakob on the floor. That means he's going to play a lot. And if they survive the minutes outside of that in these transitional lineups, then they're doing it. Then it's there. Then they're surviving the minutes. What I really wonder about is the like funky stuff like Scottie and CMB or
Yeah.
Scottie and Mobo or CMB and Mobo on occasion, or maybe just like Mobo plus shooters. It was what
Mhm.
they opened up with to start the Sacramento game is Mobo running like not point forward, but delay center action. And the Raptors playing a very heavy shooting lineup around him and surviving it. You have to come up with lineups over the course of a season. The Raptors have more options than they used to, or at least more good ones.
Yeah.
I think Darko can pull the right strings. I think the talent and size is there to survive it. Anything we're missing on that little tidbit?
No, I think just like preseason makes you feel a lot more positive in terms of the situation because Mamu doesn't necessarily have center size for the most part, but he's fit everything the Raptors are trying to do like a glove, and to have that extra offensive upside, and especially if the shooting translates like it has initially, it's going to open up a lot for their bench lineups and allow you to play Ingram plus bench, have him be a spacer, be a pick and roll guy that offers some pressure when he does pop out and make things a lot easier to allow their bench lineups to really score because they struggled last year mightily.
They just at everything
Yeah,
damn near. They
yeah,
struggled at a lot. For this season to be what we all want it to be, it's a big jump in wins.
yep.
Um, if they're losing, like if they don't win more than 42. And maybe that comes across to, like, people listening for national media as, like, way too optimistic. I mean, I did the Celtics media with Bobby and Noah, and they asked me where I thought the Celtics were, and I said I thought they were a playing team. And Celtics fans they're pissed at that. They're like, "Damn, there's 7 teams better than us?" And I was like, "There might be 10, dude. I don't know." Like, but it's we all like our team, and we all
Yeah.
like what we see. But the Raptors, it's got to be good, man. And there's reasons to think it's going to be good. We just walked through a bunch of them. Is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I just think with everything going on in the preseason, and it's like a privilege to have expectations and have pressure. The Raptors had literally nothing going on for 3 years. We've done this podcast for 3 years, and there's never been a trajectory of us thinking they're going to make the playoffs or have a puncher's chance of proving the league wrong. This is the first season in several years. It's a privilege to have these pieces, have this expectation. So like it's gonna be fun and be a part of the ride and be a part of the roller coaster. Like it isn't going to be sunshines and rainbows from day one, but like they've given themselves a chance, and that's all you can really ask for.
This is harkening back to a point that Lewis made. He was like, the honor in being, like a 500 team has died in the NBA. And there's not much honor, but there is honor in it. There
Yeah.
is honor in keeping things together and trying to move forward. And with this podcast, the team has gotten worse and worse. And I think anybody who pays attention to this stuff knows that there is a direct line between team success and media around the team's success.
Mhm.
We've still managed to make this podcast more popular and popular over time without delving into any like nonsensical drama or anything crazy. We just, as friends, talk about the game, and more people are listening to it. Thank you to everybody who's listening now. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hype. Uh,
Yeah.
this is a big year for anybody who I think Raptors Republic can be the number one place for you to get your Raptors news. I really do. I think we can beat Sportsnet. I think we can beat anything out there. Anybody who wants to try and compete with our podcast, mine and Lewis's podcast, S's game recaps, all of mine and Lewis's writing, plus the whole team, guys on news, guys who are writing like gamers, guys doing all that kind of stuff. I think we can be number one, and it's a very talented staff of people.
Yep.
So I'm really excited for it. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Trey, thank you for joining me once again.
Mhm.
And listeners, whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.